We had two words of the day a couple weeks ago, identical, if you recall, from a show, and it was frivolous. And then we used the second day the same word, frivolous, because I was so upset with Tony Busby, the lawyer in Houston, when he threatened to sue Deshaun Watson, said he had 16 lawsuits and that he had a bunch of facts, and he started trying Deshaun Watson through the press. And I was very disappointed that that is the society we live in, where people get tried publicly before they have a chance to prove their innocence. Well, what's happened in the week since, or the 2 weeks or ever long since those segments were, is that Tony Busby has held a press conference. Tony Busby, the lawyer in Houston, has filed 16 lawsuits against Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has secured a lawyer named Rusty Hardin. Rusty Hardin is a big-time defense attorney, a big-time attorney down in Texas. If you've done something bad and you're deep in the heart of Texas, you're hiring Rusty Hardin. You're not screwing around. This guy isn't on contingency. He's not $100 an hour. My guess is his rate, if I had to guess, is around $1,100 to $1,200 per hour. He likely charges the way good, upper middle, big-time New York attorneys charge. Rusty Hardin has stayed relatively quiet, so has Deshaun Watson, since the initial Deshaun Watson statement, which we examined when he said, "I never have done anything disrespectful to women." And I told you on this show that someone should have told Deshaun that you should never say never. Because now what we have are 16 Jane Doe lawsuits. The reason why names are withheld is that there's no reason to bring further scorn or embarrassment or attention to a woman. It's hard enough to come forward and say you've been sexually assaulted. The law gives you an opportunity to stay, I can't think of the word, anonymous. Thank you. Thank you, Coco, for that. You were thinking it before I even had to say it. Rusty Hardin is trying to get more information about these lawsuits. He can't even find out the name of the women. Deshaun Watson can't provide him with the name of the woman except for a couple. All of these 16 lawsuits are the same. Deshaun Watson wants a massage, and then he wants a special massage. And then if he doesn't get it, he tries hard to get a special massage. Sometimes he wants more than a special massage. He wants the happiest of the happy endings. And women don't want to do it. They feel uncomfortable. Then they cry. Then they run away. Some of them come back and do another massage. Some of them don't. Some get flown in to give a massage. Some don't. Some are surprised when he's naked. Some aren't. But Rusty Hardin went on the offensive yesterday, but he started with the caveat that you now have to start with in society, and it's well that you do, acknowledging the seriousness of sexual assault, acknowledging how difficult it is for women to come forward, acknowledging the right of women to perform their job without worrying about being harassed or assaulted or inexcusably touched or inappropriately touched. All of those things are true, and they need to be said, because we've learned, especially if you listen to Levitard's local show with me every week, we've learned that while we used to be able to say some things go without saying, we can no longer do that in this society. Everything must be said. So we are stuck with statements where things are said that we know are perfunctory. But then Rusty Hardin went scorched earth. He basically took the opportunity to say that, in his opinion, the court of public opinion has already tried Deshaun Watson, and it is his belief that nothing inappropriate has taken place. In fact, he has proof that one of the Jane Does called up a representative of Deshaun Watson, said, "Give me $30K and I'll stay KK quiet. You want my silence? It's $30K. She must not have seen Deshaun Watson's extension that kicks in right now, because $30K for silence, you got to do better than that. You got to ask for more than that. In a negotiation, you're never going to get your first ask. So apparently this person called and said, "I want 30, meaning she obviously would have settled for like $1,000. You go in and ask for $1 million, and then settle for 30 grand? Why would she be looking to cash in? Is that because the case isn't true? That's where Rusty Hardin got it wrong. When people are willing to settle and get paid for their silence, it's not because the underlying action didn't happen. It's because maybe they just don't want to bother with the publicity. Maybe they don't want to bother trying to fight against the most famous athlete in Houston right now, the best player in Houston on any of the professional teams right now. Maybe their view was that's a view that the climb is not worth. That is a level of squeeze that will not produce enough juice. So it's not enough to say that someone asked me for a payoff to be silent. That does not automatically say that the underlying event did not happen. Deshaun Watson has a problem on his hands because the NFL can no longer ignore this. You could have one Glenn Close-like person going after you, boiling your bunny, taking Ann Archer's bunny and boiling it on the stove. That's possible. NFL will look the other way with that. So will every other league. I've seen a lot of boiling bunnies in my life. Not because of me. I'm talking about with other people with whom I've worked on the field. It happens. It doesn't work out well for the person who does the boiling of the bunny. I can promise you that. I've seen that over the years. So, I don't know why we're talking about boiling bunnies, Coca. Do you? The NFL can ignore the boiling bunny. What they cannot ignore is when there are 16 different women who are now alleging similar conduct. Do you know who else can't ignore it? The Houston District Attorney. When presented with evidence, they're going to have to convene a grand jury. I'm not making a wait to see because I want to do a wait to see based on someone's legal issues and based on someone potentially being a serial sexual assault. But I believe a grand jury will have to be convened because there's too much right now. You can't ignore this. So what does Deshaun Watson do next? Deshaun Watson allows his lawyer to call it a circus atmosphere. He allows his lawyer to try to do the bait and switch where you're worried about what's happening on your right hand, so you get people to focus on your left hand while all the action's happening over here on your right hand. But Deshaun Watson has a bigger problem than that because he's trying to get traded. Who's going to trade for Watson right now? Coker said to me before the show that everybody will trade for Watson. He's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football. It depends on what the Texans are asking. If the Texans are asking for 2 first-rounders and a mediocre player, who's not going to trade for Watson? I'm not. I don't want the aggravation. I just don't. I will make a call, however, to the NFL. And the call I'm going to make to the NFL will go like this. Hey, Raj, quick question for you. What is the maximum penalty that you think you're going to give to Deshaun Watson if it turns out that he wanted a happy ending from 16 different masseuses? When he didn't get it, he would take his erect dong and he would have it pressed against a woman trying to get her to give oral sex? Thoughts? Is that 6 games? 10 games? Is that a season? I just got to know. I guess you'd call the NFL and find out if you could get through the issue of trading for him in the first place. Then Roger Goodell would say, listen, I don't know anything. We're just starting our investigation. And I'd say, how long will the investigation take? We got to gather the evidence, David. This could be 3 months. Well, will it be done by the beginning of next season? We'd like to obviously have it done because if he's going to be suspended, we'd like to get that done when the season starts. As opposed to having the Texans in the race somehow, unlikely, and then having him suspended for 6 games during the season or having him suspended for playoffs. We definitely would not want that. So we're going to try to wrap this up if we can before September, but it's already March and these things take time. Well, Roger, what's your view? Should we trade for him? I can't answer that. You know that. I'm the commissioner. I can't show favoritism toward one team versus another. But what I can tell you is we are definitely investigating, and you just ought to be careful about what you are going to give away in terms of assets to acquire. And then I say back, but Raj, he's signed for 5 more years. If you suspend him for a year, he still has 4 years to play. I'm going to get Deshaun Watson for 4 years. And then Raj says, but what about the possibility that you're going to be offending and upsetting half of the demographic that you're trying to attract to the ballpark, half of your fans? And I'm going to say, my fans don't give 2 rats' asses. I don't think that's an expression. I think it's just a rat's ass. I don't know why I doubled it, trying to make an even bigger point. 150% certain that my fans just want to win. They don't care what some guy does off the field. And Roger responds, that may have been true before, but you better put your pulse on 2021, my friend, because things are just a bit different now.